Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Detonation. We have the party secretary here. Hello, party secretary Pavel Elin. How are you?
Hey, Steele. Thank you. I'm great. How are you doing? Thank you
Fantastic.
for having me.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming back to Detonation, this very fundamental announcement. And this announcement is really important because, what is it, Pavel? I'm going to let you announce it. We've got something really cool lined up. What is it? Why is the clock
Yes,
ticking?
we were preparing that for a long time, and finally we are ready to start the first round. First round on our great candidate debates for presidency of the United States, which will occur in the September 14 in 5 p.m. Pacific, U.S. Pacific time. And debate's gonna be with the candidates Haywire, Halsapple, Harris, Karras, and Forsyth. So it's gonna be great. It's gonna be just the first round. So we're gonna announce second round later. And yeah, this is it.
Yeah,
It's happening.
absolutely. It's all going to be here on this channel, all exclusive, all live, all happening, and we're going to have a bunch of different people joining us. Peter Zing, hopefully, we'll if you can find time between Singularity University and hang out with Peter Diamandis to find the time to hang out with us, that would be nice. And also, the other cool people who are coming on, Lev and Jules, those great little YouTubers down there, doing a great job. And they're going to be coming on to help me co-host. We're going to have a bunch of special guests. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be really, really cool.
Yes,
And as you said,
still, I want to say thank you so much for supporting USTP and debates, and your media support, and your technical support for organizing this broadcast. So thank you so much for being around and helping us.
when we started a news channel, I wanted to be news, right? And when you're in news business, you want to be ahead of the game, right? And where's more ahead of the game than the USTP? I mean, this is tomorrow's news today, far more than Alex Jones's tomorrow's news today, because Alex Jones or somebody like that, they pick generic statements that go way back through time. You can just pick these patterns out, right, through time, and you can go, oh yeah, that's what's going to happen. But what we're talking about here is so unique, so special, so cool, so fundamental to global change that it's tomorrow's news
it's
today.
first time in history when the transhumanists tried to run for presidency, and the transhumanists had a real debate. Before, the Zoltanism was only one candidate and there was no debates, and now there's so many candidates, and the community is involved in the discussion, and it's awesome. It's great. I'm so happy to be part of this process.
Yeah, me too, and that's absolutely great for me, in that way. And thank you for your support. And the community, I find, has absolutely rallied hard, and I'd like to thank them back, for supporting me in such an enormous way. Because it can get very, very tough. It's a very grueling adventure, but it's worth the rewards. You make a lot of friends. You get a lot of contacts, high contacts, good contacts, solid contacts, and there's stimulating debate and stimulating discussion, and above all, you end up with solutions to global problems, global issues of health, wealth, society, blood and treasure, and sorting out some of the geopolitical mores that have gone on for centuries, and rising above all of that. And and that's what I've kind of been searching for, because in a way, studying geopolitics or studying this or studying that, you always end up in these same logic loops. You end up in these same scenarios where these different schools of thought take you round and round and round in circles, and there's no path.
Yeah, we need to break this circle.
Yeah, there's no path outwards, and transhumanism, in a way, it supplies you a path out, and that's good, because that's actually solutions. That's actually actual solutions, as opposed to just falling into the remit of a new and sometimes stubborn ideology.
Yes, I'm so excited about transhumanism in general, because it's not about left, right, center. It's about to go beyond the default settings of our existence. So it's really great. And I would like get back to debates a little bit, and I want to encourage the everyone to join the U.S. Transhumanist Party, because if you are a member of U.S. Transhumanist Party, you can vote for the in these primaries, and membership is free, obviously, and you can join. In order to be able to vote on this election, you have to join through September 21st, to be eligible to take a part of this election. So I encourage everyone from every part of the world join US Transhumanist Party, and so you can have a voice.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's very encouraging to hear you say that, and you're the party secretary, and I know you have to say that, but you say that out of the genuineness of your heart as well, because you're not obliged to say that in a certain context of speaking. So no, that's really encouraging. It's good to hear, because as we were saying, there's solutions embedded into these problems, and if you want to go around and around in circles for another 200 years while you watch the planet burn, I mean, you can jump off this channel and you can go watch something else, that's for sure. But if you actually want solutions, if you want to dig into the depths of the problems of that's going on in the world, you have to look into and you have to grow up, and you have to mature in your mind and say, hey, we're going to tackle some of these big solutions. And you're also, on the other side of the coin, you have to be ready to take some big hits. I mean, some big fundamental hits to your ideological setting. One of these ideological settings that people have to take a hit to, regardless of where they fall on the spectrum, is something like UBI. Because we're at this point in history now. I know you're a fan of UBI, and I know you're a fan of capitalism. How do you marry the two?
I'm strongly pro UBI because it's not just a free money. UBI it's liberation of people. Most important for people to have access not to money but to time, to develop themselves, to have an education, to just wondering about life and the universe and your place in the universe. When you have to just survive, you don't have opportunity to questioning your existence and wandering around. And it's important to wander around to find your place and yourself. And UBI, it's the tool which help us to liberate people from this scarcity mindset. So I'm strongly for UBI.
And I'm going to be really interested. The reason I bring UBI up is because it's going to be one of the big debating points at the debate. And, there's different candidates out there with different debating points. Are you excited by any of the candidates in their UBI debates and their arguments?
Well, I'm happy that the issue is on the table and the candidate is going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about any specific candidates, the opinions. So let's let them talk about that, and then we can discuss what they're going to say and let people to decide what they like about either program of either candidates.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And as a party secretary, I guess you have to say sort of neutral. I personally, yes. I personally like, I kind of like Rachel Haywire's UBI policy simply because it's almost in line with Andrew Yang's policy. But Ben Zion's UBI policy is almost as good in the fact that he has it mitigated with federal land leases. So he's trying to pay for it there, and he also has it budgeted with a sort of decommissioning of the U.S. military in a way. So he's got that sorted. Shatke it comes around and says you can't do math. It's arguable, but they're both talking about a drawdown of the U.S. military in that way and an increase in R&D to pay for this sort of stuff. So it's kind of interesting in that way.
I think reducing the military not only in the U.S. in the world, it's the military is a big chunk of the GDP of the economy, of the resources we spend, and by reducing our spending on military, we can get the funds to fund UBI. And I'm sure there's not only military, there's lots of wealth. It's just not in our culture, in our economy. It's just not distributed very too equal. So it's very distributed not equal at all, and the gap between super rich and super poor it keep growing. So we need to like it's not like we lacking money or resources or we lacking food or something. It's there. We just not give people access to it. So we have to make this resources available to as wide range of the population as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Money is a resource, and you know, and it gives you, enables you to have access. So it's a domestic policy in that way. That's kind of why I'm attracted to the Benzion one. Why? Well, even if it doesn't work out practically, it really goes to that extreme edge of enforcing this idea of automation, and you know, and the fact that UBI has to become a thing. Whereas, you know, the more practical stance of Andrew Yang's freedom dividend and or Haywire's, you know, she doesn't push it too much, but Haywire's policy as well, you know, they're interesting and they get on the table, but at the same time, it's like, meh, you know, there's accusations of almost, you know, socialist notions in there, whereas at least these far edge ones, it's like, why would you go that hard? And I think that's kind of good as a thought experiment while we're in this stage of the USTP, right?
Yeah, I think all this again, this division on the socialist, capitalist, or libertarian, it's so boring and it's so like it's keep us within the circle we're running around. You were talking about before. So like I like like Andrew Yang said about we have to move forward, not right, left, but forward. But Andrew Yang for me it's also kind of conservative. But I like this phrase that we have to move forward. We have to move beyond this traditional divisions, traditional the ways of distributing the wealth and value in the economy. Yeah, we have to change the culture. I think like in 10, 20 years, we will think about the notion of working for someone as a barbaric institution, and we're gonna think, oh, how people were living there. It's such a terrible idea to like just to live just to work. And it's not like I don't think people start doing things. People will be more free to do more and to do more thoughtfully and empathetically things they really excited about. So I don't think we're gonna through UBI and through abolish this working culture. I don't think we're gonna raise like generations and generations of lazy people. I think we're gonna raise more free and more like excited, more empathetic generations, and it's gonna be great.
Okay, I'll frame it to the capitalists like this. This is how you have to frame it. You know, capitalists saying there's always competition. Well, you know, UBI, the idea is a form of competition, right? You understand what I mean? So it's a competitive.
UBI not gonna remove competition.
Well, that's what I mean.
You to
it's
survive.
A competitive idea in the marketplace, right? If you're thinking about it just from competition perspective, UBI is a player and it's competing in the marketplace. And if you have a better idea, I mean, come up with it. But the thing is, and you've hit on a very important note here, you know, about working conditions. In the 1800s, in the 1700s, since the Industrial Revolution and forward, what is the whole labor unions, all this other stuff, advancements, safety regulations, all this has been about improving the working conditions. Why? Because they knew that people would be trapped into a working relationship. The reason communism in Russia and the Bolsheviks won and all of that is because they revolted fundamentally against that whole system of the overlord capitalist class, bourgeoisie, crushing the proletariat, right? So they tried to throw that
Russia,
system over.
Especially it worked in Russia because there was a huge history of slavery. So the people
peasants,
was Russia abolished slavery even later than U.S.
Peter the Great, right, or later?
No. I mean, in the late 19th century,
Yeah,
Peter the Great only increased slavery.
Because I remember Napoleon Bonaparte and Peter, I think it was Peter. They were
No,
arguing
Alexander the Great.
Yeah, at the river, and they were arguing over the peasants, and he said, and Napoleon sold it down the river. They said, do you want to do with these 10 million? Because he was marching across Europe with liberty, fraternity, brotherhood, and then Alexander said, no, I'm not going to do it, and he said, all right, don't worry about it. He left. But I totally understand what you mean. So there's been an evolution in that sense in work, right? But we've got to the point where work itself, that idea, is becoming an obsolete notion.
Yeah, because we have all this. We don't really need the strong AGI to automate all the labor. We already have all the technology. We just need to have the courage to invest in these technologies, to implement these technologies, to automate as much labor as possible. And we're doing that. But the problem when we automate the jobs, we still keep this the capitalist mentality. We shareholders of the big corporation increase the profits, but lots of people left behind without any opportunity to support themselves, and that's why UBI is so important.
Apart from UBI, what other thing are you excited to hear about during the debates for the candidates to talk about? Any other policies? Any other ideas? Anything that they floated? Anything you've heard on this show? What other notions or ideas are you happy and you want to hear? What type of rhetoric do you want to hear from them at the debate? And if you want to name any of the candidates, that's up to you.
I would like to hear how the candidate is gonna reform the healthcare system in US, because it's very important in context of life extension therapies which coming, and accessibility of these therapies, because now there is no universal healthcare, and like if you doesn't have a insurance, you're gonna be left behind. And obviously, if you don't have insurance and money, you're gonna be left behind. Nobody gonna treat you. So I'm wondering how candidates going to improve the system of the healthcare, and how they're going to make all this even current healthcare technologies, and most important for me, life extension technology, available to everyone. So this is a very important topic for me.
So that's interesting. So US healthcare revolution, and I heard a little bit in there, access to technologies. The main theme that we've been talking about, and I know you've heard this over and over, is the Kamsian, Kurzweilian, sort of Corderoian theology that's the price point will drop and the accessibility will become naturalized over time. Do you agree with that, or do you think the government needs to get involved before the price point drops, especially with some of these fundamental technologies?
I think government should be involved, because it's not guaranteed that market will make it available and cheap. I mean, it could happen, but it also could not. For example, if you can see how not available the U.S. education system, it's getting less and less available. Colleges became more and more expensive. So it's on the market. It's like in its existing capitalist context, but it's not, and it's been around for how many centuries, and it's not getting more and more available. So
but is that because U.S. Version of education is now outdated, and the internet has surpassed it, and it's become the only way they can cement their reign is by using that piece of paper to get bureaucratic jobs. Because that's what I see from here in Australia.
Yeah, but for example, in Russia, education have the same traditional education with universities, but it's much more accessible. Like there is like half of
Cuba.
the spots in a university funded by federal government. For example, my PhD program was funded by federal government. Like I didn't pay anything. They even paid me the scholarship to do this the program. So it's not about the I agree also that there's so many resources, educational resources, like out there in internet, in like online courses, and it's free. But I think that it's important to have this offline conversation with the professors, with the mentor, which you can get access through the online courses.
Absolutely, and
So I
they need
think
a place to pool
we
and to
should.
gather and to socialize.
Yes, exactly. We should improve the any education tools we have and online courses and traditional university, traditional academia.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to hear from the candidates? You're excited to hear about their policies, about the way they debate. Anything else you want to say? We're running out of time here.
I would like to hear from them how they going to mediate between different groups of interest within transhumanists and outside the transhumanism. Because there's lots of people who want to focus just on life extension. Some people want to focus on uploading and AI, and how they gonna be how they gonna have a dialogue with different interests, different aesthetics, different ethics, and also how they gonna communicate with the population, non-transhumanist population, and how they gonna persuade people to become a transhumanist, or yes, how they gonna like work with the lower future shock level audience, and how they gonna go beyond this tribal, how they gonna overcome other and tribalism within transhumanist party and transhumanist community, and within whole culture of the world.
Yeah. Think big. Think big on these ideas. And I recommend people. Ben Zion. He did a press release, and he just did a conversation with me. You go one video back in this playlist or wherever you're watching, and check out his thing, because he tried to do some sort of policy release where he was saying how to heal the party, how to grow the party into how to grow the party with third party policies, how to do a whole bunch of stuff. And go watch that video. It's very intriguing, and he's really thinking like a real leader, which I haven't seen from any of the other candidates yet. I still see them sniping on policy. I still see them sniping on interpersonal conflicts and stuff. And this guy's saying, well, actually I want to go beyond and up and beyond. And he's been forming alliances with other members, so it's been very intriguing from his perspective on that. I would recommend people go back and watch that video. We'll see what the other candidates do. Some other candidates are haywire, very intriguing. Harris is coming in a little bit late, but we'll also see what he can get up to. I'm not so sure though that he's very big on charities, and that might work well with someone like Shatke, but I don't know how that will play to the Transhumanist Party as a whole. So we'll have to see about that.
Let the candidate express themselves, express their programs, and people will decide.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the whole point of it. People will decide at the end of the day. So it's very intriguing. It's very interesting. Is there anything else you're looking forward to from them? You want to hear from them? Anything?
I want to hear philosophical and intellectual debates, not throwing the crap to each other, but actual debates. I want to see the dialogue. exchange of ideas, exchange of the thought process, exchange the different pictures of the world and the pictures of the future. So I want to see this fusion of the ideas and to again picture the future. And through this dialogue, I think we can build the better future for everyone.
And the word that keeps coming up out of your mouth is future. And you know, I think my company, like this, my presence here has dragged us all into the present and the near present. But actually, transhumanism in general is about the far future, well, the near far future, right? So yeah, that is a good idea. We do try and play around with a lot of different future and futurist ideas. But you know, I think I've brought everyone a little bit into the near present, but that's actually a really good idea.
How Bruce Sterling said about future. Future is here. It just not distribute equally.
That's
So future is here.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Yeah, yeah, and it gives hope to people. You know, across the board, a lot of people are looking to these candidates, you know, for hope and for reason and for calm collective decision making. And you know, it's a really important enterprise that they're undertaking, and a lot of people, you know, it's a very serious enterprise. So yeah, we wish them all the best of luck, and we hope we have a really good debate. What do you say?
Yes, I just want to encourage everyone to watch debates September 14, 5 p.m. US Pacific time. And again, join the USTP through September 21st and vote.
And vote, absolutely, yes. And that's the other thing. We'll have to get people to vote because we have to make a minimum.
I really want people to engage with the movement from the community, so people can influence the decision making. So it's not like just a few like Illuminati decide for everyone. I want to see actual movement, actual grassroots movement, which direct our evolution.
Yeah, totally agree. And democracy is a really good efficiency tool of gathering what groupthink is. I mean, it's not always the most effective manner, but if you look at the evolution of democracy over time, democracies are more peaceful, more prosperous. You know, they're more conscious. They're more, you know, they're better in almost every metric. You know,
it's more inclusive.
More inclusive. And if you have a representative democracy, like here in Australia, it's not a tyranny of the majority. All right. So you could have, you know, you can have these democracies that are a tyranny of the majority, but when you have a representative democracy, you do end up with something that represents the collective ideas. So all of the ideas, regardless of what they are, they all end up having a voice. So you know, and if you don't have a representative democracy, you end up like Hong Kong, you know, where you know the majority is walking up and down the street. Millions of people are saying we don't like this, and one lady, Carrie Lam, can say, "Nah, I'm working with Beijing." So you know, democracy is good. It is, as long as it's done right and it's really effective, and it can be created and made into movements that are energized, energetic. If you think of the millions, the tens of thousands of hours that have been poured into this party election, at minimum, it's got people all over the world. They're thinking. I mean, that's fundamental. That's great. I mean, keep that up.
Yes, I think democracy is not perfect, but I think it's the best the tool we have to organize diverse communities and to mediate between different cultures, different aesthetics, different ethics, different philosophies. So yes, I agree with you on democracy.
Absolutely, Pavel. It's so nice to have you on. We've run out of time, but is there anything you want to say finally to the audience, to the people, you know, whoever you know who's watching, you know exactly who's watching, to the candidates, to whoever, have a quick word, you know, have a go.
Well, get engaged, get involved, vote and engage with discussion, reach to the candidates, reach to USTP officers if you have any questions or you want to discuss something. So let's work together.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And Gennady will be coming on very soon to announce the other debate and, giving us a rundown of what he thinks. And he's a very neutral player, very strong neutral player in all of this. So that's fantastic. And thank you. But thank you as well, Party Secretary, for coming on and enlightening us and helping us launch the clock. I'll fix the clock up. It looks a bit too big, but I'll fix that up. And thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Steele, for having me.
All right, Detonation, all more coming all your way all this week.